It's Thursday. I'm on the job. I've been enjoying myself painting all day, and it's time to do the word because it's starting to get dark and the sun is looking pretty and going down. So let's take a look. And I saw something in my notes that said, "You've never tripped over what's behind you." Man, let's think of that. You've never tripped over what's behind you. How do you grasp that? How do you put that into... I mean, that's just the most wonderful piece of advice that I've ever gotten from myself or from the spirit within me. You've never tripped over what's behind you. And I remember that at the time, this was 2 or 3 years ago, that it was a feeling like I was dealing with something from my past, and or maybe an old thought or a memory or something, and it was messing me up, and it was trying to get on me. Like, you ever had anniversary thoughts come to you, or every year on a certain day at a certain month or a certain week, it's like you're plagued by some old memories and some old things. There are anniversary thoughts like that. The devil comes back to check to see if you've changed. The spirits that were cast out, the spirits that left you because you refused them, will come back and check on you once in a while to see if there's room, and if you're washed and garnished and swept clean, but nothing in you. So they will come back and check. And I was dealing with that again, and that's when it came to my mind. You've never tripped over something that's already behind you. And we've got to remember that. Not to do the things that we used to do is more than just fighting it off or fighting off that temptation. No, it's just not in us. We're not going there. And when you think, how do you trip over something that's behind you? You've got to go back and visit it. You've got to turn around and you've got to walk back there. And that's what we're talking about. We're not going to deal with it again. We're not going to go back there again. There is a story in the Old Testament. Only takes a minute for me to tell you. Of course, you know about David and Goliath. There's been plenty of movies about it. Even if you didn't know that story was in the Bible, it's in the Bible. And the thing that really doesn't get involved with the movie is that when David killed Goliath, he took Goliath's sword and cut his head off. And then literally, according in the Hebrew, made the same kind of covenant of cutting where he would walk between the head and shoulders. Walk between the head and shoulders. And at the point that he did that is when the scripture says that all of Israel shouted a shout of victory and ran forward and chased the Philistines back to Gath and slew them all the way back to Gath. But it wasn't until David proved, it wasn't just knocking the Goliath giant down, but proving by taking his sword and cutting off his head and walking between the pieces that David proved he was dead. That's what gave them courage. So there are some people that go out and do the action, and there are other people that get encouraged by what they did. So, be encouraged when other people go forward and they do something and they evangelize a neighborhood that's never been done before. Or they go somewhere that nobody else has gone before. Use that for courage to come and do the same thing, to chase your enemies back to Gath. And the reason I brought that up is because David took that sword. Well, this is 1 Samuel 17. Well, in 2 Samuel 21, the son of Goliath comes after David to kill him. And Abishai, who was David's nephew through a sister cousin or something like that, slew the giant. And because the giant said, "I'm going to kill David," obviously for killing his father. It was one of those revenge things. It was probably 20 years later. You remember, David only was a young boy. It took him 20 years between Goliath and being king. So we know that those kids that were left in Gath that weren't killed grew up by then. By the time David was king, these kids grew up into giants and said, we're going to avenge our daddy, you know. And so in 2 Samuel 21, or 20:21, it talks about that sword. And it says that that giant tried to do what his daddy did, tried to do what Goliath did, and intimidate Israel. And Israel wouldn't have nothing to do with it. You know, here it is 25 years, 26 years later, Israel's like, nah, we aren't falling for that again. You know, because he was trying to, you know, oh, come out and fight me. Well, they sure did. They went out and they killed him. And so it said that he had a new sword. That giant came against David with a new sword. Now, why would the Bible go to the trouble of saying new sword unless there was an old one? That's right. There's an old sword. Who has it? David has it. It's Goliath's sword. So when you've cut the head off your past, you keep that sword. You don't have to, somebody's going to have to come up with a new way of trying to come at you, because they can't use the old way. Can't use it. They got to find a new way. Well, one of those sons of Goliath, that it says these were the sons of Goliath in 2 Samuel 20:21. One of those sons looked exactly like Goliath, looked exactly like his daddy. Now, the example here is sometimes, years after dealing with something will come up that reminds us of our past, or that is the same problem we had before. And we think to ourselves, oh, I guess I didn't solve that problem after all. Oh, I guess I didn't kill it anyway, or, you know, some problem. But it's like, no, I still got the sword. I cut the head off. I walked between the head and shoulders. I know Goliath is dead. I don't know who this is, but it's nothing. I'm not going to fall for this. So even though the third son of Goliath looked just like his daddy, Israel didn't fall for it. They weren't intimidated. They went out and slew him just like anybody else. And ours is the same. Now, they still had to deal with him. It wasn't like he just went away all, you know, tucked tail. No, you still had to fight him and kill him. But hey, that was awesome. You know, it didn't matter. They'd already dealt with Goliath. They'd already dealt with all that stuff, so they're not going through it again. And that's what we're dealing with today, is that when you're going over something, if you're tripping over something from your past, it's because you turned around and went back there. In your mind, in your thoughts, in your actions, because you can't trip over something that's behind you. I love that. You can't trip over the trouble that's behind you. So put it behind you. Put it behind you. Put everything behind you. So today is the 24th. We're going to read Proverbs 24. And we're going to see if there is something in Proverbs 24 that reminds us of what's going on with our world today. So Proverbs 24, do not be envious of evil men, nor desire to be with them, for their hearts devise violence, and their lips talk about troublemaking. Through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all kinds of pleasant things and riches. A wise man is strong, yes, a man of knowledge and increase. For with wise counsel you will wage your war, and in the multitude of counselors there is safety. Wisdom is too lofty for a fool. He does not open his mouth at the gate. The reason they say the gate is because the gate is where the seat of the court was for any city. Any city had a courthouse. You know, instead of a courthouse, the courthouse was the city gate. He who plots to do evil will be called a schemer. The devising of foolishness is sin, and the scoffer is an abomination to men. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Deliver those who are drawn towards death, and hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. If you say, surely we did not know about this, does not he who weighs the hearts consider that? He who keeps your soul, does he not know what you're truly thinking? Will he not render to each man according to his deeds? My son, eat honey because it's good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste. But so shall the knowledge of wisdom, and so shall the knowledge of wisdom be to your soul. If you have found it, there is prospect, and your hope will not be cut off. Do not lie in wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Do not plunder his resting place. For the righteous man shall fall 7 times and rise again. But the wicked, they shall fall by calamity. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, though, and do not let your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it and be displeased, and he turn away his wrath from him. And do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the wicked, for there will be no prospect for an evil man. You know, so it's like a lot of evil people promise you all kinds of good things, but they will not prosper. For there is no prospect for an evil man, and the lamp of the wicked will be put out. My son, fear the Lord and the king, and do not associate with those given to change, for their calamity will rise suddenly, and who knows the ruin those two can bring. Oh, wait a minute, those two? The lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Fear the Lord and the king. Okay, so he's talking about, that's the two he's talking about. Do not associate with those given to change, for calamity will rise suddenly, and who knows the ruin those two can bring, which means the Lord and the king. These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to show partiality in judgment. He who says to the wicked, you are righteous, him God will curse. And people will curse, and nations will abhor. But those who rebuke the wicked will have delight, and the good blessing will come upon them. He who gives a right to answer kisses the lips. He who gives a right answer kisses the lips. Prepare the outside for work, and make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterwards build your house. That's good advice right there. It says, you know, get your fields, get your land organized, get your things planted, prepare your outside, make it fit for yourself in the field. And that word fit for yourself means, you know, ready to plant or something like that. And then afterwards, build your house. You know, because that's basically getting your foundation ready and your finances ready. Prepare. Do not be a witness against your neighbor without cause. For would you deceive with your lips? Do not say, I will do him just as he has done to me, and render to a man according to his work. I went by the field of a lazy man, and by the vineyard of a man devoid of understanding, and there it was, all overgrown, broken down. And when I saw it, I considered it well, and looked at it, and received instruction. And this is what it was: a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and so shall your poverty come upon you like a prowler, and your need like an armed man. Oh, Bible's good. Word is good. Where's my little... Ooh, it's way buried. I guess you have to open it up to get it back out. There we go. You know, there's so many things to do in a day, so many things to do in our lives. I think it was summed up pretty good last night, you know, that our life is an opportunity to do something great. It's an opportunity to do nothing at all. And we could look at that every day. Every day is an opportunity to do something, or an opportunity to do nothing at all. When I come to you like this and I'm working, and I'm focused on the painting, and I get it all over me and all that, And it is my clothes, my uniform. Before I paint, I put on my painting uniform. Clothes that already have paint on them, clothes that are made for painting. You know, my painter pants have extra pockets for the phone and for tools, extra strength at the seams, and loops and hooks to hold hammers and brushes. And so those pants prepare me to be able to do better than if I was just wearing a pair of jeans. I've tried to paint in jeans. Oh, they're comfortable. I like painting in jeans, but no pockets for tools, no pockets for phones. And they're, it's comfortable, but they're not very, they're not strong. They get torn real easy, getting in the bushes and painting around the house and all that. And but a pair of painter pants cost about as much as a pair of jeans, like $25. So this, here nor there on what you wear, but the preparation. And so the preparation of getting on these painting clothes gets my mind ready to paint. And it isn't because I'm going to paint the instant I get to the job, but it is the uniform that gets me in line, gets my mind thinking, okay, this is my uniform for today. This is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm putting on. The same way as Christians, we put on the whole armor of God every day, although there's nowhere to take it off. But I mean, every day we have the armor of God on us, and we need to remind ourselves, to participate in keeping that armor strong. In the same way, we prepare and have a uniform or clothes for whatever our job is. But when I get to the job, then there is also another layer of preparation. Whether it's putting plastic on the windows, tape on the baseboards, drop cloths down, even subtle things like picking the paint, or what shine is it going to be? Is it going to be shiny? Is it going to be satin? Is it going to be gloss? A lot of decisions to make like that. And so honestly, painting is a lot of fun, but there's so many things around it that you have to do. It kind of takes away from the fun unless you are able to focus on the fact that, okay, this is going to be fun. And I'm doing this work so that I can have some fun painting. Because once I got the cover of the windows, once I got everything taken care of, then I can hook up the sprayer and spray, or I can get a brush and a bucket and make a difference and change the surface and be a blessing to the homeowner, and they're a blessing back to me, with pay, and we both get our needs met that way. But it isn't just picking up a brush. It's being prepared. It's being focused. And it's like, okay, so I'm climbing up this big ladder today, and I'm on a slanted ground, so it's not level ground, so I have to make a level platform for the ladder to sit on, so that the ladder works correctly and I'm safe going up and down and up and down the ladder. And funny thing was, it was something little. Here I was all focused on the ladder, and I was using these little pieces of wood to make sure that the platform was level, so that the ladder was firm and steady, even though 1 foot of the ladder was up higher on a piece of wood and the other foot was on the ground. I don't know if you all had to do that kind of thing. Just imagine trying to put a ladder in a staircase with 1 foot going on the top and another foot going down the stairs. So in the midst of all that, one of those little pieces of wood tripped me up. Oh, I almost caught myself, but the funny thing is, you don't really think about it, but when you fall on flat ground, you just kind of like, oh, you fall, you get yourself and you start getting up. But this yard is really slanted. I mean, it's really slanted. And so when I fell and I hit, it was like, oh no, I'm not stopping. And I rolled over twice before I could catch myself, because it was steep. And I hadn't even thought of that. I hadn't even thought of, if I did just a little stumble. But it was downhill. Oh, it was downhill all the way. And here I was worried about big stuff. And yet it was the little pieces of wood that caused me to trip up. And then because I was already on an angle, take a tumble, and my hip hurts, and I had to pray for my hip to get it to function again, and now it's feeling better. It's still telling me that it did not like falling on the ground, but nothing, no bumps, no bruises, nothing, no crackles or snaps. Nope, don't have anything like that. But that's part of being ready, being prepared. You have to focus on, okay, even when I climb a ladder and I'm perfectly safe, I always say to myself, if something were to happen, what could happen? Are you ready for that? What would you do? There was one time I fell off a roof, and had I noticed where I was at and thought about where I was at before I got up on that roof, I would have noticed these tree branches. But when I got up on that roof, the place where I put my ladder collapsed. And so my ladder went out from under me on the roof. And I went sliding down the roof towards the gutter. There was nothing I could do about it. And I went right off the edge. I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 feet down, and I landed in grass. And but the thing was, I also landed on my ladder. And my ladder didn't work anymore after that. It was all bent up. But yet my weight and the ladder gave its life for me. And I kept that ladder to remind me, at home, and until it was time to move to Tennessee. I finally, put it in the aluminum recycle. But I always kept it to remind me, and I always kept it because that ladder, when it fell, it stayed open, and when I hit it, it collapsed and bent. It got all bent up, but that slowed me down so that I didn't hit with a full force. Because you can fall 3 feet and severely hurt yourself, and I was falling 10, 12 feet, and one of my knees hit the grass, the other hit the cement. That didn't have a problem. I just missed the porch, only glanced off the cement porch, so just a little bump on the side of my head. But I opened my eyes, and people fall, they shut their eyes. Don't ever shut your eyes. I opened my eyes, and I saw that porch coming, and I was like, oh no, I'm moving my head, and I just missed it. And I've never forgotten that. Had I been prepared more for something like that, it's easy to think you're safe and not have to worry about anything, but always be ready. Always be ready for something. So that's the way it is for painting, and I accept that as a painter, And I do risky things once in a while, reach a little farther than I should, or go a little higher on a ladder, take that extra step on a ladder that if you just step a little higher, you could just touch that up and get that taken care of and not have to go get another ladder, and things like that. So we have to we bend and compromise with experience. Compromise with experience. I like that. So and of course my wife, she would have not liked that. So anyway, lots going on in the world. Pray for the people in North Carolina. We're seeing a lot of things happen, and we're waiting for. We've had some friends that were in damaged areas that are getting the mud out of their house right now, and out of their church, and so there's a lot of things going on. But I'll tell you what. Joy and I both said together, it's like Americans really showed themselves to be Americans. Didn't need the government. Didn't need them. FEMA, go home. FEMA, go home. So that's what I wanted to pass on today. That we've got to be prepared. That's what I want to pass on today. That you can't trip over what's behind you. So get things behind you. Get moving on. Press on. Go forward. Don't look back. There is one of the things I say a lot is I don't think like that. When I have an old thought come to me that I thought in the way I was years ago, I would say, I don't think like that anymore. I don't think like that. I don't think like that. And that thought leaves. It was just testing me, just seeing what's going on. So thank you for being with me on this Thursday on the job over here in this beautiful place and this house and all that. Well, I guess I really don't need to show you anything else, but there you go. And so remember, I love you. but Jesus loves you more. And we're going to do the best we can to help you out with our words and teaching. And have a good day. We'll talk to you next time.